Let's talk about that game. Alabama versus Tennessee. Alabama offense, 41.7 points per game. That is eighth in the country. 7.1 yards per play, seventh in the country. 5 yards per rush, which is 35th in the country. On the passing side, 10.8 yards per pass. That is third in the country, and 7.55% sack rate, which is 91st in the country. So honestly, not very good on the offensive line for Alabama. Not like the teams of old, honestly. On the defensive side of the ball, 20.8 points per game allowed, 33rd in the country. 4.5 yards per play, 15th in the country. 3.3 yards per rush, 24th in the country. 6.1 yards per pass, which is 16th in the country. And then sack percentage, also not like the old Alabama team, 6.25% of dropbacks and in the sack. That is 55th in the country. Let's talk about those Tennessee Volunteers now on the offensive side of the ball. 36.8 points per game, 17th in the country. And this has been in a free fall the last 3 weeks. They were number one in the country before they played that Oklahoma game, and it has gone downhill since then. 6 yards per play, which is 40th in the country. 5.1 yards per rush, which is 27th in the country. 8.2 yards per pass, which is 27th in the country. 8.21% sack rate. That is 104th in the country. And we talked about those tackles not being very good. But then we get to the other side of the ball, which has been very good. 12.2 points per game allowed. That is fifth in the country. 3.9 yards per play, which is second in the country. 2.3 yards per rush, which is second in the country. 6.5 yards per pass, which is 37th in the country, and then a sack rate of 7.59%, which is 34th in the country. Alabama is favored by 3 on the road here, over under 56.5, which is higher than the last game we talked about, which is a little bit more surprising because I do think Tennessee's defense is elite. What do you think about this game, Tyler?
Yeah, and I think the over-under is basically just going off of Tennessee's offensive performance against some of these weaker teams like my Kent State Golden Flashes, Chattanooga. I forget who else they played that they ran the score up on, but it doesn't really matter. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be an offensive game. And we kind of earlier on in the show, we were talking about how bad Alabama's defense has been. It's just so extremely talented that it's hard to fathom them giving up 25 points to South Carolina, giving up 40 points to Vanderbilt. But the team's pretty much a lack of discipline since the Georgia game just is the head scratcher. Like I've been saying, Alabama is good enough talent-wise and with Kalen DeBoer's big game coaching to beat anybody anywhere. The problem has been the lack of discipline. It's hard for me to say. That being said, can Nico pick apart Damani Jackson, Malachi Moore, Devontae Smith, the true freshman, I believe his name is Ivan Brown or something like that, who had the game-winning interception, of course, against me. And then Keon Sabb, who I'm actually kind of surprised he won the start, but he's transferred from Michigan. But yeah, can he pick apart this secondary who's been very, very disappointing thus far this season? I'm still saying no. I'm worried about Nico's decision-making, and I get it. It's a home game. It's not a primetime game, but it is at 3:30 kickoff. By the time it's 6 o'clock, that sun will be coming down. But I like Alabama here on the road. It's just I'm trusting – I'm really trusting Kalen DeBoer's big game play calling here and Jalen Milroe. He's a veteran quarterback. Which one of these QBs is going to make the devastating mistake? It's probably going to be the younger one. That's usually how it is. Now I'm going to go Alabama here on the road. I also don't think Tennessee's going to have that much success running the football. And we talked about the sack percentage. How many of those sacks are just dumb sacks that Nico has taken? I mean, there was a situation against Florida where he just folded in half. He had 3 or 4, 5 seconds to throw. He just folds in half, takes the sack for no reason. Could have thrown the ball away. I'm worried about the inexperience for Nico here. I get it's a home game. You're going to have the home crowd. The home crowd could save Tennessee here. That's how good Neyland is. That it's one of the best stadiums in college football, one of the loudest crowds. I think it's a top 4 place to play. But I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams to have a little bit more success. I think this is a lower scoring game. I like Alabama to win this on the road 27-20 against Tennessee.
I agree with you. I think this is going to be a little bit lower scoring than people think, just because, again, I don't think Nico's going to be able to exploit that secondary. That's what it comes down to. Now, if he does, if this is his go, like he figured something out game, then Tennessee can easily win this game
Yeah.
because that Alabama secondary is not very good. We saw that in the second half versus Georgia. It was bombs away in that second half, and a lot of those guys were open. But I do agree. I think Jalen Milroe is going to make the plays needed to be made, and I don't think Nico is. And I think Nico's going to turn the ball over in certain situations, and that's going to be the difference in this game. I do think it would be smart for Tennessee if they can just rely on the run game as much as possible in this game. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, but that is how I would attack Alabama, even though that secondary is a weakness. If you don't have the quarterback to exploit it, it can't be a weakness. So that's why I think I would run the ball if I was Tennessee. I'm going to take Alabama to win this game, and I do think it's relatively low scoring. I'm going to go Alabama 27, Tennessee 17. So we're both under there. And did you take Alabama to cover?
Yep.
And we both take out. Yeah, we both take Alabama to cover here. I'm pretty confident in that, honestly. Unless Nico figures something out, I just don't see how Tennessee wins this game. Unless Jalen Milroe just decides to turn into his old self and from a year ago and just go complete turnover machine in certain aspects, then I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and Tennessee could definitely win this game. The home crowd's going to be huge, a huge factor for Jalen Milroe. But it's hard for me to see him fix all those mistakes in what 4 or 5 day span. I don't know what happened. Well, he wasn't really that great earlier on in the season. Just being honest. Now he's got a really good wide receiving core that maybe could save him here. Squirrel Wright and Brew McCoy specifically there. I think Thornton is still out. I could be wrong. If he's back, that'd be huge for Tennessee. But I'm sorry, Tennessee fans. I wanted to pick Tennessee because in the preseason, I had Tennessee beating Alabama. Big home game. I thought it would actually be a night game too. I forgot about the Georgia-Texas game coming into this. But I don't – unless Tennessee's able to run the football and control the line of scrimmage, I don't think they will win this game.